Greetings once again, pirates on the high seas. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with One Piece, where previously we saw the events that happened after Bonnie had experienced Kuma's memory, where she grew to understand why Vegapunk was so desperate to keep her away from all of that, and that he wasn't given much of a choice in everything that happened. But they are able to make amends when Vegapunk is able to give Bonnie the 10th birthday present Kuma wanted her to have. In the current timeline, Saturn cruelly reveals that he had experimented on many a person, including Ginny, Bonnie's mother, and it is through these experiments that Ginny developed the Sapphire Scales disease, something that Saturn wasn't actually aiming for, let alone having it pass on to Bonnie. We also find out something that I, once again, took for granted and didn't actually think was the truth, but many people guessed. Bonnie never actually ate the age fruit. In fact, it was injected into her, as she was too young to actually consume a devil fruit, making her the youngest person to ever have a devil fruit, period. We even find out the restrictions about Bonnie's devil fruit, as many people assumed it was broken because it seemed to be able to connect her to any future she believed in. Therein lies the problem: belief. And the more Bonnie's future or knowledge about reality becomes grounded, the less powerful she can become. In fact, it may very well be because Bonnie is a child that the ability works so well. But as Bonnie desperately tries to use her abilities on Saturn and finds that she is unable to, she starts to break down, slowly giving more and more into despair, while on the sly someone gives Luffy food so he can regain his strength. Kizaru maybe? And while Sanji, Frankie, Vegapunk, and Atlas try their best to get to Bonnie and rescue her, who should arrive on the island? None other than Kuma. And he is pissed, and he can't be stopped as he rushes through Vice Admiral after Vice Admiral, just Marines who are no slouches. The Authority ships can't be used on him, and for some reason, despite having lost his willpower, Kuma armament hockeys up his hand, and after saving Bonnie from Saturn, he goes in for a mighty punch. Will this be a repeat of Luffy's assault on a celestial dragon on Sabaody, or will Saturn's power overcome this? Join me as I find out, won't you? One Piece chapter 1104. Thank you, Daddy. That's so cute. And speaking of cute, is that Chuji? Is Chuji getting married? And Sanji with a cheesecake? A literal cake made out of cheese? That's adorable. Reader requests Sanji delivering a dessert to a newly engaged rat couple at a restaurant by Toshikazu. I love that we've established Sanji's soft spot for rats. His Cinderella ass. It's adorable. Man, Saturn just stands there, ready to take it as Kuma gets ready to go all in. I don't know who's remembering these events. No, it's Kuma. It's Kuma remembering them, because it's all from his perspective. As Kuma puts all the weight of his past behind this hit, he remembers his encounter with Saturn on God Valley, where Saturn looked down on him saying, "The Buccaneer boy, your only options are slavery or death." Kuma remembers his father's words, "Your mother's dead, son, but I think she's better off that way." Ginny, happy when she was first able to freely eat food, saying, "I'm so happy," and crying. And then Ginny's last word on the Denden Mushi as she weakly said, "I'm sorry, Kumachi. I'm dying. It won't be long now." To Kuma, cradling a infant Bonnie, to the present day, where the 12-year-old Bonnie cries just as much, if not more so. And as Saturn braces for impact, he calls out, "Why is this happening, Vegapunk? He should be dead." A few days after the Revolutionary Army took Kuma away, I pressed his self-destruct switch. Is that why Kuma came this way? But then why didn't he explode? And Vegapunk seemed shocked by this. Did they find the self-destruct switch, or is Kuma's own will keeping himself from exploding? Regardless, Kuma puts all the weight of his suffering behind this hit. The impact, double page spread, all in, blood flying, just, you can feel the weight behind this hit. It is so intense. This is going to be a full-on animated black and white moment when the impact hits. You know it. You know this is going down. It's going down. I'm yelling timber. Ooh, you better move. And Saturn goes flying as the Marines call out, St. Saturn? Saturn smashes through several buildings, with a lot of them collapsing on top of him. It looks like Saturn is out. The Marines look on in shock, calling out, look at the town. What is this? What's happening? Did Kuma do this? And that's the Marines in the distance. The ones who are right there, the Vice Admirals call out, he punched out one of the 5 elders, the very highest authority in the world. And Kuma just stands there, wheezing, sparking, but still stoic. The Marines call out, rescue St. Saturn at once. He's trapped under the buildings. A slave just punched the man at the pinnacle of the world. This is a historical atrocity. We then see Kuma take a knee and slump over, while Vegapunk is still on his knees. Sanji, Frankie, Atlas, they go racing over to where Kuma is kneeling before Bonnie. Sanji calls out, finally I can move again. Bonnie, are you hurt? While Frankie shouts, now's our chance. Take Bonnie and let's move on up. Escape is our only goal. While a stunned Vegapunk thinks, what happened? I did not attach any self-destruct switch. Oh, so he never put the self-destruct switch in. Nice. I knew that if I helped turn you into a bomb, they would inevitably use you as a suicide weapon, but I upheld their conditions in the end. I attached this total shutdown switch to you, and now that it's been thrown, you should be in a total vegetative state, without the ability to act on your own free will or even carry out orders. And as Vegapunk watches Bonnie embrace her father, who embraces back, Vegapunk thinks, there is no reason he should have sprung into motion, and no logical scientific basis for his arrival at this island where Bonnie is. So is it true then? It is not the physical strength of the Buccaneers that makes them remarkable? For at one point in time they what? The Buccaneers are the people from the ancient kingdom. It's true, isn't it? Everyone's guessed that. It's probably the truth. Joy Boy was a Buccaneer. The clan of D were Buccaneers. Kizaru just puts his head in his hand and says, well, it's over. Santamaru, tied up, smiles, thinking of Kuma. The Marines whispered to themselves, saying, where's Straw Hat? He disappeared before we could apprehend him. I don't want to make that report. Meanwhile, Bonnie reaches a hand out to Kuma's face, saying, thank you, Daddy. I saw all of your memories. Mommy was such a wonderful person. You wrote me all those letters after all. I was so happy to find out. She continues to hug her father, saying, everyone calls you a tyrant, but I know my daddy is the kindest and most wonderful man in the entire world, and I'll never ever forget it. Kuma remains stoic as Bonnie sobs in their embrace, but suddenly, an immense blast of hockey erupts from where Saturn was. As they call out, Saturn? St. Saturn? He stomps forward towards Kuma and Bonnie. Bonnie takes notice in shock as an injured Saturn. Is he missing an arm? Jeez, and one of his horns is broken off. Saturn roars, Vegapunk, how do you explain all of this? Was it your doing? Vegapunk says, well, I suppose it must look that way. I could call it the power of love if it makes you feel any better. That comment. I mean, you could call it the power of love, honestly. Oh, and sure enough, Saturn's body starts to heal itself. His arm reforms, his horn reforms, the blood oozing from his face disappears. As he says, I see. Then it is a flaw in the human form, and an error in the programming. Farewell. I have no more use for you men. Sanji calls out, hey, how come his body is regenerating? Saturn goes to strike with one of his claws at Kuma as Bonnie tries to pull him out of the way, saying, look out, Daddy, move out of the way. But Sanji jumps in, saying, don't do anything to break Bonnie's heart, Spider Gramps, and he kicks the talon away. Meanwhile, Frankie charges his beam, saying, we owe Kuma a great debt too. He calls out, radical, and Saturn sees it coming, while Kizaru finally gets up saying, "And it's true, you've developed very well." And as Sanji fires off a radical beam that slices through Saturn, suddenly Kizaru appears behind Frankie. Frankie notices at the last second as Kizaru charges up saying, "So show me how you've grown." And as Sanji calls out to Frankie, Kizaru kicks him away with a lightning speed kick, sending Frankie flying. Meanwhile, the hole Frankie punched into Saturn heals. Meanwhile, Bonnie calls out, "Daddy's not moving, Vegapunk." We see Atlas carrying Kuma as Vegapunk commands, "Can you carry him to the lava fields, Atlas?" Atlas calls out, "Yeah, I got this." Meanwhile, Kizaru stands before Saint Saturn, ready to give chase, saying, "Now that even Kuma's in this scene, I'd say we've got an abundance of players, wouldn't you? Let's finally end this." Vegapunk calls out, "Have you no heart? You're a sad man, Kizaru." Kizaru adjusts his glasses, saying, "Yes, I'm a miserable sight. I should have brought darker shade." God. Meanwhile, the ship's out on the coast. A report rings out. "The Buster Call has been activated. This island has been declared a threat to the world government. All warships prepare for bombardment. Burn it to the ground in the name of justice." Meanwhile, Saint Saturn calls out, "Those who study the secrets of the world, those who possess the blood of a lost people, those who have awakened an ancient god. This island is full of inconvenient people who must be eradicated." Oof, that was a short one, but oof, man, that hit. So much happened here, even though it was a fairly short chapter too. Kuma punching Saint Saturn. Yes, in the end, Saturn could heal himself, which is the biggest downside, but let's be honest, if Saturn went down that easily, it'd be like, oh, that's it? Like, the real question is, how do you take him down? Is there a limit to how much he can heal himself? Do you have to overwhelm the healing factor? And so what Vegapunk put inside of Kuma wasn't a self-destruct, it was just a shutdown. So Vegapunk was all... See, that's the funny thing. Saturn and the others were basically letting both Vegapunk and Kuma skirt as much of the lines of what they'd be willing to accept as possible. Because every corner, they had basically not done what they said they were going to do, or they did it to the barest minimum amount. So the more we get of exactly what Vegapunk has not done that he was ordered to do, the more it's just like, oh yeah, the assault on Egghead was a long time coming. Shaka's prediction to Dragon feels less like a prediction and more like, bruh, my days are numbered. Like, it's gonna happen soon. I'm just waiting for that shoe to fully drop. It was basically like a kid who keeps doing wrong things, just seeing how far he can take it before he finally fully gets punished. And we get further and further confirmation that the Buccaneers were the ancient race, especially because, back when Saturn first really made it seem like, okay, the Buccaneers specifically need to be punished, because Saturn has put an abnormal amount of time and effort behind really screwing over Kuma, and it just feels like the principle of the fact that Kuma is a Buccaneer, because it's not like any slave is treated kindly, but Saturn really went out of his way for a lot of stuff here. And Luffy disappearing, where did he go? Did someone move him out of the way? It's funny because even Frankie and Sanji aren't really focused on that. It's more like a mindset of, Luffy can take care of himself. We gotta get Bonnie. And the reunion between Bonnie and Kuma is so bittersweet because it's obvious he can't really respond to her. There's obviously some will of his in there, but what's driving it and to what degree is the question. Because while he's able to act, he's not able to emote. So there's not even a self-destruct. A lot of people thought that there was going to be a self-destruct and Kuma would take himself out with Saturn, but even that doesn't feel like it'd actually do anything, really. It'd be more of an inconvenience. And, Kuma's punch on Saturn was intense, but let's face it, Sanji kicked away his talon and Frankie full-on fired a radical beam right through the heart, so, that bounty increase. But in the end, it really didn't do much of anything. And I kept wondering why Atlas wasn't one of the Vegapunks taken out. It was for this moment, just so we have someone who could just carry Kuma. I thought I'd be a little bit more hype, but I think it's because it happened so early on in the chapter, the punch from Kuma, that it was just like, I mean, yeah, okay. And it's not like we didn't know it was coming either. Now, had the previous chapter ended off with the punch, that probably would have been like, oh my god! Just me marking out in the end. But it's more like I'm satisfied, like, yeah, badass. Really looking forward to the next chapter. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you think about Kuma's mighty strike and the attacks against Saturn? And what do you think it's going to take to take Saturn down? Not to mention, Kizaru has obviously been making moves on the side, on the sly, but how far will that go? Did he move Luffy, or did Luffy move himself? Not to mention, we know the Blackbeard pirates are lurking somewhere, but where? That really is the question. I mean, Luffy was down, that would have been a good time to make their move, but then again, Luffy was also surrounded. And with Katarina Devon's ability, we know the only ones not accounted for are Lafitte and the Katarina. Wait, no, that seems about right. Because you had those chasing down Law, and those who were on the pirate island, and Lafitte and Katarina are not accounted for. But it feels like Oda's waiting for the last minute when he knows we've fully forgotten that they're supposed to be there. But what way will they strike? Alright, again, let me know your thoughts and theories in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye.